So here we go. So now we're starting a new recording. So that last recording was 7 hours long.
But Forrest, the talk with Guy McPherson and Ye Tao, that's its own video.
Yeah.
Also, Stylish Row and Alan Savory, that's its own video as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it'll be manageable.
Well, you got two of my top three favorite people. Is there any way you're going to get Dr. Bruce Lipton in this talk?
Oh, we'll get Lipton. We're eventually going to get everybody on here, because this is humanity coming together as a super intelligence. It's really that simple. Who would want to be left out of that? Right? Oh, I'm one of the dumb guys who doesn't participate in that. Duh.
Who is Dr. Lipton? I'm not familiar with him.
Isn't he the guy who invented Lipton tea?
He's the epigenetics scientist that was a professor, I think, in Penn State, and he quit and he came out with the book Biology of Belief, and how the environment and our own minds are actually giving us our own problems. It's how our perception of the world is how it affects us. He's really fabulous. I really enjoy him as well. And it was a great day. You had Dr. McPherson and Alan Savory on. I mean, that's two of my top three favorite people that's on my bucket list to say thank you to. So I'm just kind of blown away. And Jamin, you're an incredible. I don't even know what this role would be called. This mediator, liaison for this. It's really fabulous. You're the way that you see things and the language you use. It's just really fabulous. Thank you, and keep it going.
Thank you, Forrest. Well, ever since I grew out my hair, my title is Chief Mullet Officer.
Well, facilitator is a name that I really like because it means to make it easy.
Yeah.
Make things easy. So that's what Jamin is doing. He makes it easy for people to participate and feel at home. And I play that. It's kind of good cop, bad cop, because no, that's not a good analogy. But I have encouraged some. I've helped with facilitation of this gathering a little bit, and what am I trying to say? Oh, it's like Jamin is not power hungry. He's willing to share the power, and that's also what a facilitator does, is to help everyone's voice to be heard. And so I really appreciate that so much, and I like to play that role too. And I'd actually like to hear from you, Smoker, my cousin. I want to know, like, you've known Jamin a long time, right?
I have. First, you should know.
Okay, I want to know then, as a reference, tell us, is he the real deal?
Well, have you ever met Jamin in person?
No.
Well, he's very short, just so you know. No, but I will tell you 100%, as long as I've known Jamin, a pretty long time, he is authentic. He does not have any ulterior motives. What he is saying, he believes truly and passionately. So that's true. There's no ulterior motives on this guy. I mean, just look at his hair. I mean, that should say it all. And the headband, that's authentic. No, but seriously, this guy. And Jamin is a pretty incredible guy. You've probably noticed. I mean, he's serious. He doesn't joke around ever. And but he's serious enough about stuff to not take it so seriously, yet He does take it seriously. And I I'm totally ignorant on the topic you guys are talking about. I got to admit, I've spoken with Jamin a lot. I've learned a lot, but as I've learned in my years, I've been wrong about a lot of things. You know, you listen to the media or whatever, and you get your own beliefs. And a lot of my beliefs have changed. So I want to learn as much as I can about what you guys are doing. Um, I'm, you know, I always say I'm agnostic because I really don't know what I'm talking about. But I know some of the people that you've already had on, Jamin. Alan Savory. I've seen that guy's TED Talk. I've seen some of his stuff. That guy. What I like about what Jamin's trying to do, and other people, I hear a lot of people complaining, protests. People walk around with signs. It's like, okay, we admit there's a problem. We're gonna need some solutions. And we're gonna need some solutions that we can actually do. Um, so, and that smoker right there, well, at least he's looking for stuff, and despite being short, he's pretty smart, you know, relative. So, and this is, if you've known Jamin's history, man, he creates stuff. He goes out and does stuff despite being really short. And I'm kind of joking. I'm considerably taller than him, but he's actually pretty tall. So anyway, but yeah, he's genuine, and he looks really good with that new hairstyle also. So that's, yeah, good stuff. So there you go.
Thank you,
Thanks
Smoke.
for giving that unbiased opinion. And actually, you know, it's really great to hear from you. I think I really, what?
Somebody call the Atlanta Fire Department. Speaking of smoke. Or I think it's Smoker. I think Smoker, Joey's house.
Do you see smoke?
I'm
So I'm out in my gazebo with my fire right there.
All right.
Aw.
Pretty nice.
But seriously, Smoker, because I can't say your name very well, whatever that is, TAAIC. I really appreciate your desire to learn and your humility and your humor. And, you know, I don't know why it was that I was compelled at the age of 18, and that was almost 50 years ago. I'm not that good at math, but it was almost 50 years ago. I'm 65. That I was overlooking Yosemite National Park, backpacking after 4 days, and I just, as an agnostic then, I'm a follower of Jesus now, but back then, but I still think it was some divine force that told me you need to travel. And a year later, I was traveling by myself. That voice told me, go by yourself. That voice led me, or not really, I didn't hear it audibly, but I was pulled to go to Europe and then to go to Turkey and Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iran, India, you know, for 13 months. And that trip transformed me from being a materialistic, thinking I had to go to college in order to just go on that pathway. And I never went that path because something stopped me. And I cannot take credit for that. And so I don't know why some of us get that. And some don't, but I just am grateful that you're here, that you're willing to participate in this awakening. And I just want to welcome you. And I know your gifts are going to be really important.
Well, thank you. Thank you. No, that's interesting. I did some traveling in my past as well, and kind of bumped around and lived in different parts of the world. So I hear you. And I kind of think nothing is random in this world. I say I'm agnostic on several topics. Agnostic on like climate change and everything. Not so much agnostic, just I'm ignorant, very ignorant. I've been ignorant in a lot of things. I've learned more, so I'm very open to learning more. But just talking with Jamin, learned a lot, and I like the idea. Someone's got to get together and start doing something instead of just talking. No, I mean, nothing wrong with talking, but let's start. That's how everything starts, but got to start getting into action. So, but cool. So I'm glad to be here.
Awesome.
And I had to ask the wife. I was like, you know, Jay, can I go out? And she was like, yeah, because you know, Marcia loves you, Jamin. So she said, oh, and she says hello to you and everything. So this is how I'm spending my Valentine's night. We're going out. We're going out tomorrow. It'll be great. So
All right. Very good. Very
So,
good. Well, for me, this is Valentine's Day for Mother Earth. She is the one who needs our love and support right now. Yeah.
right up.
And you know what? Speaking of, you know, what you were mentioning, Smoker, about like, you know, people protesting and saying, yeah, we got a problem. Here's the thing, like, probably you know, one of the most extreme groups for protesting climate change is Extinction Rebellion. I love the name, you know, but if you dig down to their fundamental belief, right, there's two ways you can believe. You can believe that somebody else is going to fix it, or you can believe that we're going to fix it. They are in the former camp. They believe the governments of the world can fix it and must fix it. And their job is to simply pressure the government. Totally. Their job is to pressure the governments of the world to do it. I mean,
And
Get it from
governments do
all
so-
angles so that we killed ourselves. It was, you know, 2 or 3 gunshots, but it was self-inflicted.
and governments do such good jobs of
Really good.
fixing things. Yeah.
Convincing the people that that's what happened. The way it went down, we were there. We have all the details.
So this is literally a community that we're forming here of people who believe that it is up to us to fix this, not somebody else, but us. And when I say us, it's an us that can grow and grow and grow. You know, I would love for 99.9999. I would love for 100% of humanity to join. Right? Even people who work in the government or work in the private sector or work wherever they work. Right?
Can I correct you on just one little thing, Jamin? Yeah, I mean,
Yes, please.
Extinction Rebellion, you've got to pretty much described it fairly accurately, except they're aiming for a citizens' assembly. So they're acknowledging the governments can't fix anything. They want a citizens' assembly to be created to take some of that power from government and give it to a citizens' assembly of logical choosing. They'll be able to make decisions. It's kind of amounts to the same thing because they're not going to give up the power for a citizens' assembly precisely for all the control. They like the control that they have. The big oil influences are you know, forcing them to drag their heels while they get all the rest of the barrels of oil out.
But check it out. But they're asking governments to form or to fund or to, what's the word, to empower these citizens' assemblies. Why don't they just go and form the citizens' assembly? This is the citizens' assembly right here. It's in operation. It started on Valentine's Day, 2020. Welcome to the citizens' assembly.
We have the authority to talk.
Yeah.
And we will talk all night long. I wish I could talk all night long, but I'm gonna have to pack it in pretty soon. I have a senile cat that screams all
Aw.
night, so I didn't get a good sleep last night.
Well, I haven't sang a goodbye song lately, so I'll sing it. Goodbye, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, good night. Thank you for joining us. We loved having you with us. Goodbye. Goodbye. Good night.
Good night, Ray. I had some. I didn't realize you were still here. I'm so sorry. I had some questions for you, but
Oh, I can stick around for a bit.
I missed a lot of your story. Would you kind of catch up? What are your thoughts on what we have been talking about recently, and like your thoughts on near term extinction? Because what you were just talking about too, you know, really good. I really enjoyed that.
I saw Guy McPherson in not in Toronto, in Hamilton nearby. I drove to go hear him talk about was his presentation. It's hard to know what to know. That there's a range of degrees is I think a good thing. That there's a lot of talk about, well, don't tell people the bad news because then they'll panic and just shut down. Sometimes you got to let the people who are going to shut down just so the truth can get out. You don't suppress the truth because you think it's might upset somebody.
That's why we are where we are. I think because of that's the mentality that we go on. We're told to go on.
Yeah, if people need to shut down, then they might need to shut down for a while and recollect and get moving. And if they aren't going to get moving, that's not going to stop climate change. That usually means that they weren't paying attention, and that means that they've got a wake-up call delivered, and they didn't like being woken up. Who likes being woken up? Usually, I want to sleep a little bit longer. But, yeah, there's a wide range to pay attention to, and each has to prove what they know. And I remember guys saying that we're on the way for not 2 degrees, not 1.5 degrees, but 10 degrees of warming, which would mean actual, we would be dying from the heat, not dying from crop failures and so forth. It's going to get so hot that we're just going to die.
And not even we're in 10 degrees, like coming pretty quickly, and 3 degrees is going to kill us. 4 degrees, not many of us will see. None of you and I don't believe we'll see that, and most others. And 5 degrees, we will be long gone. But yet, it's still going to continue. The public sees science as so detracted that 10 degrees, that'll never happen, and if it is, it's 80 to 100 years off. I know. My mother tried to convince me to vote for Donald Trump, and I said, I'm kind of worried about the environment. And she said, that's 80 to 100 years, don't worry about it. So she acknowledged that that's a problem, but she's, vote this way because it doesn't matter for us, because and my wife says, well, she has children. She says, what about my grandchildren? And that was the end. I just, when that conversation goes there, it's over. You don't, end of conversation. You can't talk, and it's so sad that most people, and you guys are so much more intelligent than I am. It's so nice to hear, carry that conversation. I can't talk to my mother. I can talk to my wife because I picked her. I can't pick my mother. It's so, really, thank you. Awesome.
One of the great things about these groups is that a lot of us are just people. We're concerned. We're starting to educate ourselves about it. I'm a video editor by trade. I've been working in the television video editor for 20 years and decided to pivot out because I see that there's problems to be solved. We were talking about how it's an interesting time to be living, that it's obviously a very grim time, but there's a lot of times through history where you might be uncertain about what to do, and I recognize this clarity once you see something that's so real and something that people are so willfully ignoring. It is an interesting time, but it's a time where you can definitely make decisions about what to do with yourself. Some people are taking the ostrich approach and will be binging Netflix to the end.
Yeah, absolutely. What makes you happy, that's I love being at home. That's the most happiest because I know this is, that's what I went to work for in the beginning. That's where I want to be when I'm not working. So, and so many people don't even have that luxury. So many people are suffering so much more than we are. And I don't think people in North America, a lot of people in North America don't realize that because things are still pretty cool here. We haven't had big fires. We've had a few hurricanes, but it's not nothing. And I don't even think that they'll wake up when, if Australia, South America, equator lines areas, when they come this probably spring and summer, I don't, still, the media is going to lie and they're going to blame it on hell. Australia blamed firefighters. They're volunteers. They're volunteer firefighters, and their president, their prime minister, is blaming firefighters. That's insane. And then the people that you work with, if you still are lucky to have a job, your water cooler talk is those GD firemen. Like I don't know any fireman that sets fires. Why would you even think that's rational to, oh, feed me more information, television. I want to know why these fires are happening. And I'm so burning up hot. But,
It's only partially an original idea. It was President of Brazil, Bolsonaro, who said it was the environmentalists who were setting the forest fires.
yeah, it was like he stole that. And that's part of like what I think we're seeing with all these these biggest terrorists, like multiple Hitlers. I think in previous times we had one Hitler kind of at a time. Now it's like there's Hitlers here, 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 and here, and you're battling all these Hitlers, and you're like going, dude, they're winning, they're killing. We no longer have lungs. We don't no longer we hit CO2 levels that were the highest ever in history, and not a blip in anything. And we can't do that. It's everything's off the charts. Everything is off the chart. It's gnarly.
I wanted to jump in with because I was a big Yang supporter this election cycle, and so I spent quite a bit of time watching a lot of YouTube videos of his presentations, but more importantly, I guess the Q&As, so I can get an idea of the atmosphere and climate in Iowa. What are they thinking about? And when they're thinking about climate and how that affects their industry, which is ag, and the same thing with New Hampshire, to see where they stood. And then I see some of these polls and interviews regarding, some of the most concerning topics. And it seems that climate change is at the top of the list going into this election cycle, based off of a lot of the questions that I watched and the polls that were given out by the news media. Even though, granted, they like to brush it away as soon as they publish it. So I think a lot of people are really starting to wake up, and I think this platform is just the right place at the right time. I'm like Jamin. I've been watching McPherson for quite a few years, I don't know when exactly. And I was in Tokyo. I sold my business in 2014. I come back to California in 2016. And, you know, I can sense it. You can feel it. There's this feeling in the air. You know, the economy's kind of a mess. Just the society and what we're becoming cultural norms is kind of a mess, and how it affected others. And you know, this was a conversation that, you know, people were kind of mentioning. They wanted to get information, you know, just general people. They would meet on the street. You know, that was some of the things that they talked about, some of the concerns. So I think that there is this great awakening that is taking place. I don't know what you guys, you know, whether you feel that or not. Of course, these power structures at the top, they're going to do whatever they want to do. It's like Jamin said, they're addicted. It's an addiction to money and power. But I don't know. We'll see. Things are moving quite well right now. But I don't know. The big question is it too late?
Well, to answer that question, we have Sarah. Sarah, is it too late, or are we on time?
Hey, I'm here.
Hey, Sarah, good to see you.
Hey, what's up?
You
I'm
just
tired.
joined. How would you know how to answer?
It's okay. I'm kind of tired. Yeah. So my take on it is, I don't have children, and I know a lot of people do have children, but I think these people that have children, they need to be really worried, and there's got to be some type of a sense of urgency at this point. In my personal belief, I had the shittiest day ever today. I had the worst day ever, and I came onto this thing and I felt a lot better being with my like-minded people, but I had a really crappy day because I am a full-time vegan activist, and I started worrying about my future today. But I have to say that I went back and said, no, I shouldn't worry, because, you know, we're going to have Vegan World 2026. It doesn't mean that everybody in the world's going to be vegan. It means that we're going to have a vegan world. We're already going that way. We all know it's happening. But to me, I did a disruption of Jessica Simpson. I don't know if y'all saw it on TMZ, but anyway, that was me. And we disrupted her on Monday night. It was on TMZ for 3 straight days, and she finally wore a faux fur coat yesterday and posted it on Instagram. But my other people that were in the whatever disruption group, they went before me, and then I sat there, and they told me I'd be doing a solo disruption. I'm thinking it's a small little venue, no big deal, whatever. No, there's like 300 people in there, and I was like, fuck. I was so scared, and I didn't want to do it. But then all I could think of was, I have to do this for the animals, because they don't want to be in there. And like every day, more and more, I'm seeing, and I'm going closer to the suffering. And I'm just at the point of like, I want to just keep doing full-time vegan activism, but I do not have any money. So I did have a lot of money, but I just don't anymore, because I gave it all away to charity. But that's another story in itself. But that was my decision. But I just don't want to be connected to, I was really materialistic in my past, and I just didn't want to be that person anymore. But it is starting to be scary for me, because I'm single, I'm not married, I don't have any children. And hang on, one of my clients is calling me. Oh, Lord have mercy. Anyway, so been so stressed, because I'm like, why? I'm single, I'm not married. All the guys that like me right now are either not vegan, and I just can't deal with that, or I'm not interested in them. So I'm just like, why am I not finding? Everybody I know around me is finding their vegan mate, and I've been vegan a really long time. And I'm like, where is my vegan man that's going to help me with this activism? So, because I'm scared, I'm like, what am I going to do? How am I going to live? How am I going to, I'm just like, I really feel so crazy like that. And like, I just started feeling like this recently, but I hadn't felt like that before, but just recently. So what do you guys think? Your advice.
Yeah.
Actually, I'd like to start with some.
And you know, I appreciate vegans.
I just wanted to tell you that I appreciate you being vulnerable. And what I'm hearing you say is that you had a really stressful day, that you really care so much about the animals, though, that you are willing to put yourself out there and do whatever you can. But at the same time, I'm hearing that you feel a lot of anxiety because you feel isolated. Maybe you're yearning to have a partner who can really.
It's not that. It's that, like, okay, so you started talking, and I saw that. Okay, because I've traveled all over the world too, and I've pretty much been there everywhere. The only place I haven't been is Antarctica.
Yeah.
But my point is that you were talking, and then I was like, wow, because I'm in Beverly Hills right now, pet sitting, and I'm really lucky to be pet sitting for a vegan activist. And I'm really happy that I'm in a really nice place in Beverly Hills. It's very nice. But I kept thinking, wow, I used to have all this. I used to have houses and condos and everything you could think of. I once wore a fur vest. I'm not proud of it, but I can see why people are so disconnected, because I was once that disconnected. And it's like, I don't know. It's just crazy. But I saw that Patricia was in her house or a house, and I was like, wow, I can't believe I just gave up my houses and all my stuff to save animals. But fuck, that's kind of crazy, right? But I can see why people kind of look and think that I am crazy. But I just don't feel that way. But I can see people really, especially the pre-vegans, like my vegan friends, that's great because that's what they did. But from anybody else I know, they just think that is just so crazy. Like even the disruption we did the other night, I thought about it. I'm like, I can't believe I just stood up in front of 300 people and started screaming to Jessica Simpson. But it kind of worked, but it was just like, damn, I got to find somebody that wants to do this stuff with me too. I don't want to just keep doing it by myself, because then it's like, I want to be able to, like, it's not just my friends, because me and my friends do all sorts of stuff. It's just somebody like else that would want to be a vegan activist with me, that would be me and them together. Like Jamin, you have your partner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'm wanting. So I'm just trying to figure out what do I need to do?
Yeah. Well, I think just be patient. You're a beautiful, wonderful, brilliant, energetic, committed, loving, compassionate woman. And my goodness.
I know, but Jamin, I am 48 now, Jamin. So I think I've been pretty patient. I'm like, what the F am I doing wrong? Maybe somebody else could tell me, because I feel like I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I'm like, why are all these guys that I do not want to go out with want to go out with me and will not leave me alone? But where is my vegan prince? Where is he? I'm crazy. I had to literally tell my friend tonight that we could not go out to dinner, because I did not want to be with my friend tonight at dinner, because he likes me, and he started writing me other things about things that maybe would happen after dinner. And then I was like, no, I don't think so. And really the main thing is because he's not vegan, and I can't deal with it, because he had took him to the pig vigil and he saw those pigs in the truck. And he talked to Sean and he talked to everybody, all this stuff. He filmed it because he's also a producer. So I'm like, How do you film animals in a slaughter truck, but still eat animals? I can't deal. That's just, to me, it's like, how brainwashed do you have to be to keep eating animals? I mean, how could you eat animals after you see them in a slaughter truck? Isn't that kind of crazy? Anyway, all right. Well, that's my 5 cents.
Well, let me tell you something, Sarah. You've come to the right place because this is a place where really amazing people congregate, such as yourself.
What's that? Vegan speed dating in next Friday?
Let's do vegan speed dating.
My wife has
Oh my God, that
vegan
sounds
speed
hilarious.
dating a few times, so I'll bring it up.
Hey, honey, can I sign up for that?
Eyeballs has the
You know what? That would be a perfect use of the breakout feature.
Well, I like to participate too.
BJ,
All right.
Yeah,
come on.
No, and
I tell you
listen.
Let's go. Go
Wait,
ahead.
when did BJ come on?
Yeah, just a few seconds ago. I mean, I saw you on Facebook. I wasn't participating, and then when I saw you, I thought I had just finished listening to Silas and Savory's talk that Jamin
From
did.
this morning?
No, I didn't see this morning's. I saw yesterday's.
Oh, I missed that. What happened?
Oh, but it's recorded.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
worth.
Mhm.
But when I saw you on and I saw you feeling having a terrible day, I wanted to switch that format and come on Zoom so I could say hello and I miss
Oh,
you.
you're so
and
sweet,
glad-
BJ.
Yeah.
I just feel so like, it's so crazy. I'm like, I feel like I've just been doing so much activism and I'm not like living in the real world. And it's just like starting to take a toll on me.
I tell you, something happened to me. I went to, somebody told me there was a vegan restaurant in another town, and we like to talk, and we do a lot of activism things in different areas. And so I went to there, and she took me also to a museum, and I was like, oh my gosh, I thought we were just going to eat vegan food and then come home. And she had another activity. And I realized I hadn't done anything that wasn't related to climate or activism in a long time, and that was refreshing to me. We got to sit, listen to the museum, talk about it, and so sometimes doing something, a break from it is helpful. For me, I haven't had a girlfriend since 2005, and I would like a partner too. But what I do is I do a little meditation every day, and for me, and please don't take it as let's see, it's not egoistic to say, what does the universe want me to do? It's a way of trying to let go of what I want, which I would like a partner. It would be so fun. I have a 30-year-old nephew that lives with me, and he's vegan, and I love him, but he doesn't want to do activism. And it would be fun to have somebody, let's go
Right.
do this, and do that, right?
Yeah,
So I know
all my friends have like vegan activist boyfriends. Like when we're going to actions, everybody's coupled up.
Right. But one of the
Yeah.
things I do since I'm not with somebody is I can help other newcomers feel comfortable. So, the partners have each other, but I can go be helpful to somebody that's new. So that's what I'm trying to do right now. I'm really glad to see you, and hello to everybody.
Oh, VJ, you're so awesome.
Thank you. And you are too.
I have no makeup on because I went to hot yoga and I kind of dried my hair, and then I canceled plans with my guy that he's pre-vegan, and I don't know if you heard what I said about him going to the pig vigil and filming it. Isn't that crazy? I can't deal. Yeah. I don't want to make out with him. Yeah. It makes me feel not good.
Yeah, but I think what BJ is saying is really, really spot on. It's when you let go of attachments that things that you really need to show up, right?
Mhm.
Things that are really right just show up. And attachment can be a real sand trap. You know, because when you're attached to something, you're not free, and you're not able to just really be at peace. And
Well, that's why I sold my business, Jamin, because I kept flying back and forth from LA to Atlanta because I just I don't want to live in Atlanta. Atlanta sucks. I don't care what anyone says. Atlanta sucks. No matter what they say, Atlanta sucks. So I'm like flying back and forth to my work. And that costed me a lot of money, but I didn't care because I had a lot of money. But I'm like, no, I could give all this money to charity. I got to save the money. Well, no, I'll go a step further. I'll just sell my damn business. I mean, I've one of those things was I've been going through a lot of stuff about regretting selling my business, and I've kind of got past that. But still, it's hard because I do need to probably get a job that pays me a lot of money, but I just want to save animals. That's all I care about. So it's kind of hard. I just started another sales job recently, but I don't even want to do it because it's just I'm talking to people that eat animals, and I just don't know why I can't get past that. I feel like I've gone too far. What do? I need advice. I'm so sorry. I know y'all did not sign up for this.
No, we did sign up for this, Sarah, because we are here to save life on Earth. You are part of life on Earth, and we're all going to get through this together. Simple as that.
But I mean, I just feel like a sense of urgency now more than ever to save these animals, because I've just been seeing things that are really crazy recently that I can't tell you right now, but you'll find out later. But I'm like, how can people not know about this? How do we get people to know about this? We gotta start showing them what it's looking like on the inside. People need to see that. We got to start passing laws. But like that guy said, we don't need to go to a new system. We need to go to a new process. You remember when he said that? What did Silesh say about that? Did he agree with him about the system? Because you know how we have the Vegan World 2026, it's not really a system, but it's like a system, right?
Yeah. No, Silesh, it was kind of tough because I feel like, see, what I was trying to create was an atmosphere where we could all just really co-create and explore. And that's hard to do with someone who has beliefs that are just so different from yours. Sarah's like, tell me about it. But we gave it a good go, but and that's part of why we scheduled 2 meetings with Silesh and Alan Savory, was so that we could have the first one, just the 3 of us, me and the 2 of those gentlemen, and then today's with all of us. And we went at it for over 6 hours between the 2 days.
I was there
for
a lot of it.
Yeah, I know.
It was great. I was about to take notes, but then I was like, I wonder if it's recorded. But yeah, it was really crazy. But I was so crazy about this Alan guy.
Pardon me? What about it?
I wasn't so crazy about this Alan guy.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people like him, but
he's too old for you anyway.
No, I'm saying I wasn't so crazy about his.
No.
He didn't seem so open-minded. He seemed like this is the way it is, and this is the way. And he didn't seem so bendable, or I think he needs to read the white paper.
Well, what do you think, Jamin? Is there an opportunity to collaborate with ranchers in that way?
Here's the thing. Let's take the Southern California example. Alan Savory said, look, there's the only way that we can stop desertification in Southern California is with animals. And Sarah, have you seen Alan Savory's TED Talk?
No, I need to watch it.
You gotta watch it. I highly recommend it.
I happen to know there aren't any. There's a lot of cows in California, and none of them are going thirsty. And there's constantly the encouragement from the mayors of wherever or the governor of saying switch to veggie burgers, and that is based on some wisdom. So that it's not a complete void of science here. People are making the calculations of where all the water's going, and like I said, there's lots of cows, and none of them are going thirsty. They're all
Yeah.
upriver of the cities. By the time the river gets to the ocean, it's gone.
We call it Cowschwitz.
Where's that?
Cowschwitz, up by 5.
Oh,
Oh yeah, in California, there's a place we call Cowschwitz. It's insane. That's why I'm like, how do people not know about this place? Because it's not
Oh, is
hidden,
that-
it's on the road, but it takes up a whole
That's the
town.
CAFO where they have the drone helicopters go up and it's like to the horizon with cows.
It's really bad. Yeah, it's up by 5, like maybe like couple hours up by 5. But then there's also a dairy farm. I just recently went to a organic, humane, certified, blah, 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 family-owned dairy farm. And it's really in the middle of nowhere, but it's still, I mean, it's on this road called Old Milky Way Road, believe it or not. But I Facebook Live from it at Sunday morning at like 8 in the morning. I'm like, here's your, I mean, the cows are in there locked. Their necks are locked. And it's like, we have to start showing this to people. People are not, they're just not. I was in the whole Paycheck today, Cruel Foods today. Just had to run in really quick to get something that only freaking Whole Foods has. And I see this lady buying like what is supposedly cage-free eggs. And I just want to just grab them from her and be like, listen, I just was in a place like this. Nothing's cage-free. I can't take it. So it's almost, I've gotten to the point where even Jane and I talked about it the other day. We're like, we don't even want to talk to people unless they're vegan. But it's like, it's like, are we like sent here and we're prophets or something? Like, what is it that they cannot effing see that we saw, right? I mean, I went vegan pretty much right away. All somebody had to do was say, if you love animals so much, why do you eat them? After I said, I love animals so much, I actually said those words. And then my friend turned around and snapped at me and said, if you love animals so much, why do you eat them? And I was like, what? And then that was it. That was my aha moment. I didn't need to see a fucking video, but I was working on something already that was animal related. I was just an animal activist that still ate animals. But I don't know what to say. I mean, I just feel like there's got to be a more sense of urgency. Like, I feel like there's so many vegans that aren't activists. I know they're doing their own activism, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But the food pictures, like, I try to post them, but the food pictures just, people just don't. I just want to know what we see and why they can't see it. Like, why is 90% of the world not awoke yet? Like, it's fucked up.
Waiting for the world to change, and the world's changing, so it's going in the right direction. It has to go fast enough, but
Well, but to answer Sarah's question, and we were talking about this a bit earlier, is people are addicted, they're overwhelmed, or they're struggling to survive and overwhelmed because of that. But people are not in their right minds. So someone who is overwhelmed, right? Whether it's a student, somebody who's working 60 hours a week and has a couple of kids at home, whatever. When somebody's overwhelmed, then all of these important causes, any important cause, you name the cause, climate change, you name it. Any one of those things becomes just yet another thing they can't deal with. And it's easier to just kick the can down the road, order another bacon cheeseburger and a milkshake. It tastes good.
That's just one more thing they're going to have to do. It's like work for them.
That's exactly it. It's like work for them.
It is. I feel like, because it's like, oh, I can't be bothered by that because that means I have to think and actually do something and not be such a robot, you know? Because that's really what people are. They're like little robots programmed.
I saw something recently that showed a kind of a spectrum. On this side, when there's something catastrophic happening or bad happening, on this side, they don't believe it's really happening. And on this side, well, there's nothing I can do anyway. And that keeps them from doing the thing in the center, which is taking action.
Wow, VJ, you're so smart.
Well, I saw it on. I saw it. I'd like to remember the guy's name, but I can't remember it right now. But he's a brain. He studies brain stuff. So I love that. And now what I'm seeing is the action in the middle. We know is be kind to everyone, animals, and not hurt them. But what concerns me is that Alan Savory and the regenerative movement are taking action, and the action is more killing animals. And so that action, you know, he left out the part, it needs to be good action, right action, loving action. And I recently met somebody here in Little Lockhart, Texas, and he's been to a training about regenerative. They're teaching it now in colleges. And so the Alan Savory, the let's use animals to bring down the carbon seems to be catching on. I hope it's not, but the fact that I've heard about it more really concerns me. And I wonder, and I didn't get to see the second video. No, I didn't get to hear Jamin or your questions to him. I would like to hear what your thoughts are on that. Thank you. Everybody.
Well, I guess it sort of answers it by addressing what Jamin was saying about California. Anytime that anybody says that there's a single solution, they're usually wrong, because everybody's got their favorite solution and they start talking in silver bullet language. And vegans do this all the time. Veganism is the answer to everything. It's an answer to a lot of things. There's a lot of things that touch on it, but obviously it's not the only thing. And to make it even worse, there's a lot of people who want to discredit veganism. So they say, oh, vegans think that veganism solves everything. Aren't they foolish? Which is in itself a straw man argument. You're making an argument on the behalf of vegans that you know that you can defeat easily. So how much of it is really what vegans say? So, you know, it's hard to tease out what the actual truth is. But there's usually a lot of different approaches, and the silver bullet conversation started earlier, I think yesterday, when we were saying that the mainstream climate change movement wants to talk about carbon dioxide from fossil fuels. They don't want to talk about animal agriculture. And part of it is most of the meat. So carnism is a factor in that. But mostly they just love their thing that they do, that one thing. And because they're doing it in a capitalist framework, they have to be successful. So they have to be competitive with every other solution there is. That's why we've got a whole bunch of silver bullet solutions, and everybody's saying their solution's better than everybody else's. So we just have a lot of infighting and not a lot of action. And then
Yeah,
a lot
some
of
good
people
points.
I know a lot of people that, I mean, most activists either believe that you change society and then, you know, then the government will follow, or you campaign the government to force them to make the rules to make everybody behave. So it's a combination of the two. Both have to happen at the same time. And again, we have citizens climate lobbies say, lobbying the government is the only thing that you need to do. Don't do anything else. This is what's important. Whatever you're doing, it's just changing light bulbs. Having a vegan diet, I heard it today, the vegan diet being compared to changing light bulbs. Oh, really? Changing light bulbs affects the light bulb industry. Animal agriculture, you can see it from outer space. It is one of the biggest industries that we have, and nobody's doing anything about it. So you have to start affecting it from a social aspect. And then unfortunately, the United Nations is all about this creating policies. The IPCC is the Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change. It's about policies for government. There's no science for humans. It's just science for governments. So they're not going to come up with any food policies, because who's the politician that wants to tell everybody what to eat? They don't exist. They'll be accused of creating a nanny state. You're not going to tell me what I can eat and what I can't. Well, it's one way to do that, and it's to take away all those subsidies, the huge supports that are given for those industries. Were those to disappear, a lot of them would be gone immediately. Or, you know, a very high priced commodity for a very elite, it would, and that was the question I asked Alan, is steaks elite food? It is in the whole world, and without the supports for the industry, that'll be even more so.
What did he expect in terms of, like, Cowspiracy had said he doesn't like factory farming, and Cowspiracy showed what would happen, how much land would be covered if we put all those cows, everybody had their own farms. Did that ever get addressed? Did he say anything about that?
Well, I asked if his solution is scalable.
Right.
And is it scalable to the appetite of how much meat we're eating right now as a society, as in Western society, or even just in the United States, which obviously is, you know, that's not something to aim for. The Food and Agriculture Organization keeps talking about, you know, the demand for meat is going to double in the next decade. How do we meet that demand? Which obviously, if you are at all a climate change organization, which they're not, they're a hunger organization, but they have been given the keys to agricultural data. So if we're trusting them with the decisions about agricultural emissions and so forth, then forgot the rest of the sentence here. It's getting late.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. One point he said, how are we going to feed the world? And in Salishan, I guess the IPC said 80% of our food already comes from plants. It's just that 20% that we need to move to plant-based. He didn't, I don't think those are his words, but it's just 20%. And yet we're using 50% of the land to do that. So I was frustrated to be sitting there and watch it, but I'm looking forward to hearing some of y'all's questions in the second video.
Well, one thing I recognize about him is that he's fringe like us. He gets rejected in the international community, just like Vegan Solutions. So I think there is a potential for having some sort of a coalition if he's really against the horrible industrial industries that are what everybody's eating right now. He was worried about cultural sensitivities, and that's where everybody's eating right now. So American culture is eating out of CAFOs. So, I mean, you have to have enough concern to criticize that model and the culture that goes with it. Paul Frank's culture, a lot of people won't stand up to saying that backyard American barbecues are going to change. What a terrifying prospect for a politician to do. Cory Booker is trying to take away our backyard barbecue. I'm sure he's heard it. I absolutely am convinced he's heard that enough times. So that when they asked him in the I think the first debate, "You're vegan. Do you think all your constituents should go vegan?" He went, no.
He wasn't. I wished he had done better, but then I couldn't have done better on the spot.
What he saw was a question meant to discredit him, because he would have been discredited in people's eyes, and that may have been happening anyway. It's tough for a vegan politician. I know one in Toronto.
Yeah.
Or a few.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks.
Rebecca, you brought up the IPCC, and you obviously see probably the same way that I see the IPCC on climate change as you do on their animal activism. You probably see that as a huge failure and nothing. And to climate change, you know, that same level of realization, I guess, when I think it was 2017, they wanted to maintain a global average temperature of 1.5 degrees above the 1750 baseline, which at that point, when they made that goal, we were already at 1.73 or 8 or something like that. Is Sam Carana was able to show. So they're an organization, a world government organization that is setting goals that they've already failed as they set the goal. Like it's completely mind-boggling to come to those realizations, and that this is what we're shooting for, and we've already overshot it.
Yeah, that must be strange. I do like getting the numbers from the IPCC because then that's some useful information. But no, in terms of their effectiveness for doing anything, yeah.
There's a really good video that Dr. Peter Carter, and you can look up his. He has. It's kind of long. It's kind of drawn out, probably like me. I'm sorry for that, but it's a really good watch into how he's talking about coming out of a press conferences with PETA and the whole experience and the lack of action, like zero action, because everything is about money. You've got to, if we're gonna fix the planet, we got to make it profitable to fix the planet. And a lot of why some of us were here today was to hope for a near-term fix, because we don't have time, because and part of that fix is money. As vegan movements, every movement is kind of interconnected. Everything's connected. But there's gonna be some monetary issues to implement cooling the planet. We've already lost almost everything anyway. We're in such a mass extinction with so many things lost. We have very little bugs. I haven't seen a moth, and I even forgot about that. I forgot about moths. How do you forget about moths? They used to be everywhere. I haven't seen a moth now, and I don't know how long. And we got a huge park right next to us, a big state park where we live. So even like moths should flutter over from that, because we're not that far away. There's just nothing. It's tough, and it's all about money. Sorry to go on a tangent again, but it's so much all about just money that we in order to fix it, we have to make more money than the oil companies in our fix in order to fix it, and that's impossible. Really, you can't beat that. Fight money and power your entire life. All of us collectively have seen what's been going on our entire lives. None of us here are children, and we used to use windshield washer fluid constantly. I haven't bought windshield washer fluid in probably 10 years. That's a big problem. It's a deep problem. And I do eat meat. I eat a lot less. And I have reptiles. I have reptiles that eat plants, so I understand. And I live better and healthier with plants, a plant-based diet. I love salad. We have to feed our snakes rats. And so no matter what, even if we were total vegan, we still have to use, meat. I have animals that eat fowl, rice and mice and rats. So we're all gonna, no matter what, eat a little bit of meat, no matter how much we try to get away from that. And trying to get away from that on top of beating the money and the finances to, where our ideas not only save us, but still make them money. We can't make them money. They just steal money from us. Well, they're still in our freaking Social Security, which I'm kind of fine with because I knew I would never see that anyway. I was mad for paying it all these years, super mad about that because I knew I would never see it. But and all that went for was the bombs, just bomb, 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 bomb.
You're talking about everything having to be profitable. I got trained by Al Gore to give a slideshow presentation, and so many of the solutions were like, we're just about to be in parity with, renewable energy will be on parity with coal, and we're overtaking natural gas. And so there wasn't any solutions that were valid unless it was creating more jobs or generating more income for with the renewable solutions. So you switch over to changing our food system and trying to switch it to a plant-based system. That's never going to be more profitable because right now we've got a system that, to be really conservative and right-wing for a second, is so propped up and by subsidies that you subsidize feed crops. So you're taking some money out of the public purse to help grow crops to then feed to animals, and they're subsidized as well. So you're dipping into the public purse twice. Why would you give up that sweet deal? We're paying for everything. I'm a vegan, and I'm paying taxes for people's meat. Does that make any sense? They don't want that system to go away. And this is, like I said, right-wing ideas. What happened to free market? They're saying that everything should be able to stand on its own without supports from the government, but meat is absolutely, like, there's a book called Meatonomics and a website, the same name, meatonomics.com. And I mean, if you go all in, a burger should cost like $20.
Hey, Joey. I'm Melissa. I haven't met you yet. I took a little break. I was pretty pooped. I'm back. And I just wanted to mention something just to bring a little light in. I know we're all facing a lot of heavy stuff right now. And it's, I just was reading about the Australian bushfires. What is it? 46 million acres just have burnt down. Ugh. Anyway,
It's a lot, yeah.
To suggest, because all of us can do a small, large part to help life survive, is what we did this year, Jamin and I, is we did not mow the grass around our house. And we let all the wild grasses come back and the flowers. And I took our neighbor who's 82, her name is Mary, and I said, Mary, don't cut your grass anymore, honey. Let me show you why. And I kind of was scooching the weeds back and opening them up, and there were moths living in there. And she's like, oh, I can't believe that. I didn't know that. And I said, yeah, if we allow the earth to be herself, the animals and insects will come back. And I just wanted to mention that because I think we can all create these healthy gardens and environments around where we live. And then we can talk to our neighbors and we can keep spreading this. I talk to people all the time about not using Roundup. That's a really evil chemical. It gets into the water table. It really wipes everything out. And people just spray it on everything. It's like, hello. So, we got to educate people. And the other thing that I love sharing with people is that Mother Earth is like this giant salad bowl. Like, we can eat pretty much everything that grows around us. Like dandelions. I don't know why people find dandelions like this evil weed. Like, it's a diuretic. It makes a great tea. It's a really awesome plant. So I think the more we can, share these stories and, just start letting things go wild again. I think, we'll start bringing paradise back. And just two other really quick stories. Out on the Olympic Peninsula here in the Northwest, they took a dam down. I think it was on the Hoh River. And I think it was the Hoh River. And within 2 years, the salmon were back. Mother Earth just took it back, and wildlife was back. All the plants were back. Mother is very good at rebalancing if we give her a chance. The other experience I had this summer, a friend of mine, she and her husband own 10 acres of land in a forest here on Whidbey Island, and it looks to me like it could have some old growth in there. I don't think they're 1,000-year-old trees, but certainly several hundreds of years old. I guess we call that second growth, not old growth. But she is an avid gardener, and she's really planted amazing, not only indigenous plants, but things that help honeybees and hummingbirds and insects. And when you go into her garden, there's so many bees, it's deafening. It's just like this hum. So it is possible. And I just want to sow these seeds of hope that let's rebuild the garden. Let's not cut our grasses anymore, and we can all find out about how to create healthy ecosystems in our own backyard and give Mother Earth a fighting chance. Over and out.
I would love to share hopeful stories too, because you're reminding me, and thank you. Melissa, I was feeling a little heavy, just puttering around the house. I went outside to look at the stars. Feel so grateful that I can, it's so quiet here out in the country. And yet here I can be with you all. And I thank you, all of you. I had 3 cups of coffee, which is really unusual for me, but because I want to stay up all night, here I am. So my hope is I wanted to share about Findhorn and how, Findhorn is the place where decades ago, some people, a handful of people moved there. It was, I think it's an island near Scotland, maybe part of Scotland. And the soil was really bad. Nobody could grow very good crops, but they got in touch with the nature spirits. And, and they would grow cabbage that were just giant. And one of the women, I think her name's Dorothy McLean, she could see the nature spirits and see them and ask them, what can we do to help you? And they would tell her. And, you might think that's airy-fairy, but Findhorn is the central place of the Global Eco-Village Network. And that's how it, that they, we do need to remember the nature spirits. And I really believe they exist, because these people at Findhorn, and my former husband, he wrote a book, Cliff, not the one that lives in the house above. I have 2 former husbands. One is a vegan, one's not. So Cliff, who lives right next door to the Vegan Visions community land, he wrote a book called How to Work with Nature Spirits to Clean Up the Environment. And there's a woman in, I think it's Virginia, and she's still going strong, and she works with nature spirits and sells the essences, flower essences, and has a workbook about how to work with nature spirits. So Thank you, Melissa, for telling people about Findhorn. And I also want to share that I've been able, there was this one woman I worked for in Fayetteville, and I was able to transform most of her front yard into put cardboard down, put compost. First I put like just stuff from the kitchen scraps or whatever you call them on the ground, and then I put cardboard on top and a bunch of leaves. All I did was to do that over. What are you doing, Damon? Anyway,
I'm mesmerized by Ray. And
oh yeah, Ray, you're taking attention away from me. Show your dimple. Give us a smile. All right, I guess it's fair enough. You can be the laughter king as well in a different way. So Findhorn.
Sure.
Findhorn.
I thought you said BitTorrent. I was like, that's not an island.
Findhorn. Findhorn. I didn't think I was going to be able to speak because I'm so tired, but I guess I'm managing, even though Ray is distracting me.
Patricia, I'm really glad you mentioned, well, you call them, they're fairies, but we call them elemental beings. And there is a place on Whidbey Island called the Whidbey Institute, which is kind of like Findhorn, where they do work with the elemental beings. And the garden is incredible. And you really feel them when you go there. There are fairy rings. I don't know if any of you have been to Scotland or Ireland, where the elemental beings are very alive and active. And that's right, you can communicate with them and you can work with them and they'll work with you. We got to get back in touch with the fairy realm, definitely, and the elemental beings. So thank you for mentioning that.
You're welcome. And yeah, we haven't, Melissa, it seems like we're on the same page in so many ways. And
I talk with them all the time.
What?
I talk with them all the time.
Nice, yeah. And I'm just reminding myself that I want to do that. I used to, and I haven't. And you know, I also wanted to mention that it's so important for us to take care of ourselves. Like we shouldn't stay up all night and talk. No, I'm joking. But it's so important for us to take care of ourselves and to meditate, to do things like cold showers and Wim Hof breathing and yoga and getting outside, walking in the snow. I think those things have been really helpful to me. And so I just hope that we can all make sure that we're investing in that self-care. You know, I'm a very practical person and always really, I know you might not think I am, but anyway, Thich Nhat Hanh, I can never say his name, but he said a half an hour of meditation a day can help in the morning, can save a lot of time because we're more in tune with how to behave and what to do. And so tuning in to that guidance from wherever you think we get guidance from, I mainly tune into Jesus, but everybody has, you know, or I guess, I mean, atheists may not think there's not, I think even atheists will believe that, hey, synchronicity and so forth. So I think it's really important that we can stay in touch with a higher power, higher guidance, because we can't always see what to do. And I'm just reminding myself that I want to just be checking in every moment. Like, what is the best thing for me to do? What's the best thing for me to say in this moment? So thank you, everybody. I have a little song real quick. I love you. You love me. It feels so good to open our hearts. I love you. You love me. It feels so good to hug and open our hearts.
Awesome.
Night.
You know what this feels like? I know Joey and Patricia and BJ and Ray and I, we're all about the same age. Melissa, remember they had that show Second City Television and based out of Chicago. It was like improv. Anyway, it was this comedy thing. And it was sort of like, I don't know, maybe a low budget version of Saturday Night Live or something. And you first watch it and you're like, well, that's kind of silly. But then you keep watching it and you're like, all right, well, I guess there's nothing else on. And the next thing you know, you're cracking up, right?
I have to claim it. That's a Canadian show.
Oh, okay. What is it?
Second City started in Chicago, but the show itself is Canadian. They were all Canadian actors. John Candy.
Candy. He's Canadian. Okay.
Rick Moranis. Actually, Rick Moranis is American, but he was in Canada when he was shooting.
Well, that's very appropriate because we got Canadians,
They keep escaping, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
No border
is
wall.
Parmit Gandhi? Have we heard from Parmit Gandhi?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. Parmit. And first of all, please tell us how to pronounce your name properly. The Gandhi we all know how to pronounce, but Parmit, please.
If you want to.
Yes.
Yes.
Parmit, first of all, how do you pronounce your name?
Hi. My name is Parmit Gandhi and I am from India.
Oh, how exciting!
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
The sun never sets on the Block Party Empire. We've had Japan, Canada, Mexico, all over the United States.
And Arkansas.
Essentially a whole other country.
Yeah.
Parmit, what inspired you to join us? I can't wait to hear.
Actually, I am also animal rights activist. And from social media, I have found this link somewhere.
Wait. No, but what was your entry point? Was it veganism or what was it?
Yes, veganism is also good, but I am transitional vegan. Right now, I don't use meat, eggs, or fish, but I am leaving the dairy products gradually.
Gotcha. Okay, but you found out about this gathering through veganism or through something else?
Social media.
Yeah, but I mean, within social media, you can type in a lot of keywords. I'm just wondering what keywords Parmit typed into social media.
Sorry, I can't got it.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was just curious to know what you had searched for on social media or what you were clicking around. Like how on social media did you find us? Like what topic or topic?
From perhaps your post is shared to my timeline. Jaimin, your post has been shared to my timeline by someone. This is Pareen Sachdeva from India. She has said your post to my timeline. So seeing that, I joined this meeting.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Well, welcome. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Great to have you here.
What are you passionate about? Oh, go ahead, Rebecca.
Oh, I just had a question. Have you heard about climate healers yet, Parmit?
Sorry?
Have you heard about climate healers? I wrote it in the chat.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, what inspired you to come on? You're very brave to join us.
Today too.
Sorry, sweetheart.
I said we also had someone from Japan with us today.
Yeah. And Alan Savory is from Africa. He wasn't in Africa today, but that's where he's from. So we have a genuine African in our repertoire today. So anyway,
I have something to say. I know online some, at least one, and maybe the other one, seem to be native Africans that are vegan, and the communication is not always very clear, but he does tours of animals in Africa, and it's hard for him to see, to know that people then go eat those animals, because that's one of the ways that the tourist industry works there. But he's very glad to hear that we're doing animal rights here, and he's over there. And I want to invite him to Climate Healers. I want to get to know him better. You know, somebody who's there and sees the animals from a different perspective. Anyway.
Yeah, I'd like to say about India that the reason I went from Europe to India was because I first went thinking, when I first started traveling, I landed in Paris and went to Germany where my sister was living. And after 3 weeks of traveling in Germany, I thought, this is just not what I expected from traveling. And it's kind of expensive. And I was a vegetarian at the time and hard to get vegetarian food. I was kind of bored seeing the beautiful countryside and the castles and the perfect lawns. And so when I told my sister it didn't feel right, she said, well, why don't you go to India? Now, I know this might not sound very complimentary, but I mean, this was her opinion. She said it's cheap and it's exotic. And I said, that sounds good. How do I get there? And she said, you just take the Orient Express to Turkey and then you take the Freak bus to Afghanistan. So there was only 2 steps, but I wanted to skip over to how I did take those directions and I got to India finally. But I loved Turkey and Pakistan, Afghanistan so much, it took me a while. But I loved India. I'm so glad I got to be there. And I met a lot of Muslims. I actually met Muslims on my travels a lot. And they were the ones who showed me the most hospitality, inviting me into their homes to stay. And I'm just remembering India, you know, whenever I meet somebody from India or has an Indian accent, I don't know, my heart is really warmed. I have a special place in my heart for India. And I just wanted to say, I'm glad somebody from India is here.
Me too.
I am curious about Extinctus, who's been with us for many hours. And of course, we don't want to pressure you. However, I think you might see now that it's a pretty safe place. And if you feel so inclined to share, we would, how many people would love, only if Extinctus is comfortable, how many people would love to hear from Extinctus? Okay, that's everybody. I'm glad Ray, I was afraid Ray wasn't gonna do anything. Anyway, Extinctus, even if you don't want to say anything, I've enjoyed seeing your notes in the chat, and I think we're all glad you're here. Thank you for your loving presence. Thank you, everybody, for your loving presence. Good to have you here, Rebecca.
Hey, Patricia, I would just like to say my wife is right here with me, and we just love your spirit. You know, when I go to protests and stuff, you are the kind of people that I see that you know, gives me a better a joy for being a human. I felt, you know, a Homo sapien. I'm pretty embarrassed about being a Homo sapien, but not all of us are pure trash. And you are just your you know, your enthusiasm, and you know, my God, I just see you as such a huge successful activist, just in your you know, your spirit and your beauty, and you know, you have a wonderful soul, man. That's you know, and that's what my wife and I look for in people. You don't see a lot of that at all, and man, it's thank you for being you. You're awesome. You have just a such a wonderful spirit. We needed where were like 8 million, a billion of you yesterday, or you know, 60 hundreds of years ago. You know, you're like I just look at you like as a Mother Earth, if that makes sense. Just seeing your you know, just your personality really shines through. And every time you light up a song, man, it's cool. It like revitalizes the whole day and stuff. That makes sense.
Oh, wow. I'm so touched by that, Joey, and I really receive that and breathe it in. Every cell in my body.
Well,
And
we're going to sing a song for you.
What?
We're going to sing a song for you.
Oh. You're going to do it right now?
Darte y no lo consigo. Después de estudiarte lentamente termino pensando que faltan sobre mi paleta, colores intensos que reflejen tu rara belleza. No puedo captar tu sonrisa, plasmar tu mirada, porque poco a poco solo pienso en ti, solo pienso en ti, solo pienso en ti, solo pienso en ti.
Thank you.
Was that under Lloyd Webber?
Who?
What was that? That was great.
Human Shark?
You made it up.
Huh?
Just winging it.
You know, I love to sing Spanish love songs. Actually, when I took on the drug cartels here in the state of Washington, I would wear a professional Darth Vader costume, and with amplification and music, karaoke style, I would sing Spanish love songs. Giant sign, literally 10 feet tall, that reads, I'll have to show it to you. We'll have to do a whole segment on it. Reads, criminal drug cartels out of the state of Washington. But a beautiful sign with beautiful graphics. We really worked hard on that. So I actually have a fair amount of experience singing in public. In Spanish.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, in Spanish and English.
And that's something I really love about you, is that you take the activism, take a stand, but do it with such love. And that's something I've just felt really strongly. If I don't love these people, it's something that I really, if I don't love these people that are coming against me, I'm not going to be able to make much change. And so that's one of the reasons I really think Jesus is pretty wise, because he says, love your enemies. I mean, it's easy to love your friends. And I want to just share a quick story. And then I think I'd like to welcome Mark Brimblecombe.
Yeah, welcome, Mark. Welcome.
If you feel like sharing, you can unmute, and we welcome. And if you want to be quiet, you're well. Ah, there you are. What inspired you to come here, Mark?
So Mark, your microphone, there we go. Now you're good. Now you're good.
Oh, yeah, now you got me. Yeah, no, I just watched the YouTube thing with you and Guy, and am I on the same thing here now?
You're on. You're on.
Good. Yes, I've been a follower of Guy McPherson for a very long time, and I'm just preparing quite a lengthy presentation on a lot of the issues which he's covered. So it came as quite some surprise to see him being optimistic about some way of mitigating the climate issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, you got a little bit of an accent there, Mark. Where are you calling from? Texas?
Oh, no, New Zealand. New Zealand.
I was just kidding. I was just kidding.
We joke here, Mark, we might do, you never know what's going to happen. We might have laughter yoga, we might have singing, but we also, so you just never know. We have jokes.
I might fart.
Uh-oh. Oh, my goodness.
You won't smell it. You won't smell it.
Yeah, but I mean, just telling us about it, we can imagine it, and already, like, the hairs on my back are starting to stand up. You been smoking again, Joey?
So Mark, you've been inspired to come on this. Did you know this is videoed? Is that okay?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
We're broadcasting and recording.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so what are you passionate about, Mark? Are you willing to share?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm actually a photographer here in New Zealand, but I have a PhD in philosophy, theology, and over the last 5 years, I've taken a special interest in the whole issue of climate change and the impending collapse of things. And Guy McPherson's been a part of that. So I was just only 5 minutes ago watching the preliminary introduction video on YouTube, which mentioned that you and the guy and two of you there were going to be doing. So that's why I just clicked on the Zoom thing and thought, oh, I better see what's going on. So what's the program? Are you going to be doing this discussion interview sometime soon, or when?
Oh yeah, no. We had a really great 2-hour segment with Professor Guy McPherson and Dr. Yetao of Harvard earlier today.
Okay, so it was earlier today. Yeah.
But anyway, it's recorded, and so
Yeah.
you'll be able to see it.
I'll go and find that. Yeah, no, because it's we're at 8 p.m. and we've still got sunlight here in New Zealand. It's probably quite late at night there for you, is it?
It
I
is.
think Guy's already got it up. I thought I saw it because I clicked on it thinking I was coming here, and it was to the previous portion. So I think Guy's already got it up on his site.
Okay, I'll take a look. Yeah, no, that's good. So positive discussion, was it? Yeah.
Very, very positive, because for the first time, Guy is not just talking doom and gloom and only love remains and it's time to go into hospice. For the first time, he is talking hope and the possibility of actually cooling the planet. And that is thanks to the excellent work of Dr. Yetao of Harvard University, who Guy introduced me to several months ago, and we held a number of meetings because I'd been working on a related but a similar solution to cool the planet using reflectivity across desert regions around the world. Dr. Yetao came up with a solution for vast arrays of floating mirrors in the oceans to reflect a portion of this incoming sunlight back into space before it even has an opportunity to heat up the planet at all in the first place, right? Now,
Yeah. So that's got to be a significant mitigating factor against the reduction in aerosols, because he makes the important argument about, and gosh, I was watching that. I don't know if you've seen that fantastic BBC documentary, about 10 years ago now, on global dimming. But the point made in that video was that it's the dimming effect which is compensated for the increased warming from greenhouse gases. So obviously most of the solutions offered so far have been, well, let's try and suck the greenhouse gases out of the atmosphere without necessarily knocking out the aerosols, because that has a cooling effect. Not sure how that's possible, but it'd be interesting to see what the effect is too of what's happening with China and the coronavirus, because there's obviously quite a major reduction in industrial activity there in China, and see how that might affect things in terms of warming. I think this idea of mirrors on the ocean has a great deal of merit. So I'm looking forward to seeing the discussion on that.
Yeah, it's a really great discussion, and we're now basically the discussion is shifting from the concept itself to how do we get this done in time. right? And so we're looking at, lots of different options for that. And that's really why we're here. That's why we're doing, we have been on this video conference nonstop for 17 hours. And we have 7 more hours to go. This is a 24-hour collective intelligence block party. And
very good.
This every single Friday for 24 hours from here until basically eternity, whenever that comes around. And no, because seriously, if humanity does not take a stand and form this collective intelligence that we're doing right here, right now, who do we expect to solve the problem? The governments of the world, the oil and gas industry, right? The wealthy sociopaths who have their heads up their butts. So basically, there's a sign we saw a few months ago that was really inspiring. That reads as follows: the greatest threat to life on Earth is the belief that someone else will fix it.
Yeah.
That someone else could be governments of the world, it could be technology, it could be the capitalist system. Just put a big enough carbon tax and then the invisible hand will figure it out, right? And so the group of people that you're looking at here and that I'm happy to say that you're a part of, welcome to the community, Mark. We are a group of people who does not believe that someone else will fix it. We believe that we will fix it, and not just the 10 of us who are here in this room right now, but we, humanity, working together outside of the constraining institutions, whether of government, of the mass media, the private sector, the financial sector, the religious sector, the nonprofit sector, you name it. All these institutions, it's not that every institution is bad, it's just that they're a bit inept. And if they haven't come out...
Yeah. Yeah, look, I'm actually very much convinced that collapse is not just inevitable, it's happening. So
yeah,
I think the collapse of human civilization is underway and progressing, and it's going to escalate really quickly.
Yeah.
And I don't think there is any way of preventing that. What we need to, I think, be looking at is how many might survive such a collapse on the current trajectory. And, some estimates put it at as low as 35 million to maybe 2 or 3 billion. So my concern is that we actually have a future for some of humanity. And there is no future. There's only extinction and complete annihilation if we reach 4 degrees or 5 degrees.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So one of the, I don't know if you follow Lord Hugh on Reddit and his stuff about XR and some of his stuff, pretty crazy stuff. But, he's very much of the opinion that the only way that we can possibly save a segment of humanity is to collapse the system, sabotage the system, bring it down even quicker than what it's coming down now. And there's a lot of merit in that argument, though I don't know if I'd want to be a part of that, because then I would actually feel responsible for maybe the death of 3/4 of the world's population. It's going to happen anyway, I think, regardless of trying to get into sabotaging it. So my keen interest is in actually, can you hear me still?
Oh yeah.
Is seeing that there's a survivable number of humans on the planet to maintain the continuation of our species and so many other species, as Guy would no doubt point out. I've spent a good number of years of my life living with hunters and gatherers in the jungles of Papua New Guinea and heard stories of lots of others. And when I went to Papua New Guinea, I discovered that, I thought that I was going to go and help civilize savages in the bush to find that I was the uncivilized barbarian coming into their world. And so I think there's so much to be said for protecting and seeing our future in what we would call non-developed, uncivilized peoples. So that's just kind of like a side issue, I suppose, in this regard. But hey, no one's going to survive if the temperature rises, you know, an average by 4 to 5 degrees. I think that's pretty much what every scientist is saying. So any measure like this which is being proposed has got to mitigate that possibility.
Yeah, totally. You know, the way I see it is kind of binary. Either we cool the planet through such a radical intervention as massive deployments of mirrors, and if we don't cool the planet, the 67 self-reinforcing feedback loops cataloged by Professor McPherson are going to just spiral the
out of control.
Well, yeah, because it's like one of those Hollywood movies where this car is just bashing through barricade after barricade after barricade, and then finally, I don't know, flies off over.
Yeah, well, this measure is a bit like reaching out for something which has gone over the tipping point and trying to haul it back again, because you know, human-induced warming has triggered these natural feedback loops. So, you know, like take the Arctic and the permafrost, rather than being a carbon sink, it's now emitting a whole lot more carbon than it's drawing in. So, and so that's going to have an escalating effect. So it's a matter of what measures can we do now to try and pull things back from having gone over the cliff.
Exactly. Now, I mean, what gives me hope, Mark, is that right now, you know, yes, collapse is happening, but you know, it's not like the global economy has contracted 40% or anything like that. It's still, you know, and the governments of the world and the financial sector, they're all trying to keep this punctured football pumped up, right? And you know, and they're hanging in there. So here's how I see it. As long as we have a modern industrial economy that's even 80% intact, right? We have the capacity to mass produce the mirrors to populate these vast arrays of mirrors that we need in the oceans. And we can just crank that stuff out. I mean, look, if in the 1940s, we could convert the then, you know, the American economy into this massive war machine, right? Cranking out B-52 bombers and tanks and jeeps and everything else.
It's possible. Yeah.
It's possible. It's possible. And what's going to make
it's just like I say, like if you guys in America could say, let's bring all the troops home, let's give the armed forces a holiday for a month, send them all home to, you know, have a nice time with their family, well, that would make a huge difference to the world's economy in terms of putting money into this. But that's a distraction. I was going to say, I don't know if you've read the report which is published by the Bank of International Settlements, one of the, you know, European central banks. It's called, it's actually called, I could send you the link, it's called the Green Swan, you know, like black swan events. Don't know if you've seen this. It's actually an excellent report on climate change, acknowledging the threat. And they are, quite frankly, scared shitless over the fact that things are going to turn to custard and they're going to start losing profits. It's inevitable. So, you know, what I'm saying to you is, in terms of funding whatever venture you're proposing, probably one of the best places to go to is the banks who are starting to scream alarm bells like this, and of course the insurance companies. The insurance companies are in big trouble. I mean, our neighbour here is Australia, and it was estimated by one German, I think, insurer that the tangible and intangible losses from the recent bushfires over there amount to about $230 billion.
Wow. Yeah. No, here's the thing. I mean, well, we'll get to that in a minute. I actually need to do something really quick technical here, which is literally to change Wi-Fi networks. So just hang in there. If there's any hiccups, just go to radish.org and you'll find the Zoom link there. But hopefully there won't be a hiccup. What do you think, Nolan?
I don't think anybody, like, we might get ejected, but the meeting should go.
Oh, the meeting will go on. Okay, worst case, we'll get ejected and then we'll come back. But just hang in there. We're
Oh,
gonna...
hang on. Where should I go to look for the conference that you had earlier?
Well, you mean the recording of the conference we had earlier?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We haven't uploaded those recordings yet, but we will do that at some point this weekend. But but the place to go is radish.org, and then click on the banner. Just go to radish.org.
RADISH, is it?
RADISH. That's right. 1D.org.
1D.
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 Mm-hmm. And in fact, and you'll see a banner at the top that says Collective Intelligence Block Party. So, and also if you lost the link to how to get into this video conference, it's there as well. Anyway, hopefully we won't miss a beat. So just everybody hold their breath, and we're gonna do a switch in 3, 2, 1. Hey, looks like we didn't miss a beat. Awesome.
All right.
Yeah, of course, sweetheart. Yeah. We're good. All right. So
Your
back
picture
to...
froze.
Okay, but...
Is your video live?
Do you guys hear me?
Oh, there it is.
Do you guys hear us?
Oh, after that pride of how long we've been lasting, I got to tap out.
Okay.
Mark, can I tag? You can take over. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for meeting.
Good night, everybody.
Might be able to get better reception.
Yeah, that's fine. Hey, good to see you, Ray. Have a good weekend. We'll see you soon. All right, back to what you were saying, Mark. So look, neither the banking sector, nor the insurance sector, nor the government sector, nor the religious sector, nor any part of the private sector, nor any part of the educational sector. Nobody wants the world to collapse and burn up. Nobody. And what's happening here, Mark, is the thing is the people who've been in control of all these sectors are, for the most part, the very wealthy. The wealthiest people are the most deluded, right? And I worked for Bill Gates for a number of years. The guy is completely deluded. Here, I'm going to say goodnight to my girlfriend real quick. I'll be right back.
Sure.
I'll be right back. Love you, sweetie pie. Hey.
Hey, Jamin. Sorry, Patrick. Mark. Sorry, I'm looking at different names. Finally found you, Mark. Sorry.
Yeah.
Good to see you, man.
Turn it off.
How is everything? How is everything where you're at? You're in New Zealand? Is everything good where you're at? Is everything cool?
Yeah, and I'm firmly of the belief that here in New Zealand we're probably in one of the best places in the world to survive the hardships. And I'll give you an example of that. I mean, you're obviously quite familiar with what's happened with the bushfires in Australia, which is pretty catastrophic and horrendous, followed by torrential rain and flooding. But today I was looking at the breakdown of the sources of electricity generation that we have in New Zealand. Actually, I'll just bring that up on my screen because there were some interesting statistics there.
Yeah,
Um,
nobody talks about the what high levels. I'm sure we got to be using exponential levels of power that we've never used before because of our numbers, and
yeah. So
it's got to
in
be
the
that
United
it's not even
States,
talked
there,
about.
in the United States, you guys, your electricity generation is 63 to 64% from fossil fuels, approximately 20% from nuclear, and about 17 from renewables. Now, here in New Zealand, 80% is from renewables. And that's because we have lots of hydroelectric power stations. We've got geothermal production because, you know, we're on a major fault line in the Pacific Rim, and so we've got steam bubbling out of the ground and things like that. And so we've a massive component of our electricity generation is not dependent on fossil fuels or nuclear for that matter, which I think puts us in a fantastic position. The lights are going to stay on here much longer than when the lights go off where you are. So, you know, I was looking at those facts today thinking, you know, that's pretty fantastic. Anyway, I've been not skied about New Zealand. If you've got $10 million, you can get in. You can immigrate to New Zealand without too much immigration problems. And there's a lot of the rich people in America who are doing just that. They're building their bunkers down the South Island of New Zealand here. Crazy.
It's not crazy at all. I would, if I had enough money, I would dig a hole. I'd hire some heavy equipment and literally dig a hole in the backyard. So when it got really hot, and I had no AC or, you know, whatever,
Yeah.
even if I have put 3 AC units in my house, and it still couldn't cool us off enough, I would still be in the ground to be much cooler, but there's not going to be oxygen. So
Yeah, you might survive,
important.
but your food supply won't.
Yeah, that'll be long before the food, or long after the food runs out. So you know, it's like now there's not even worth cashing in the 401k to dig a hole. If that makes sense. It's a mess. I love what you're telling me about New Zealand and how you guys have done things different. How is your government different, where they're not so dependent on making money on coal and fossil fuels and stuff to preserve the land at least a little better than where everybody else is doing?
Yeah, well, the movement in New Zealand to, like, our government has cancelled all future licenses for oil exploration and extraction in New Zealand. There is some oil extraction taking place, but it's very, very minimal. Our biggest contributor to greenhouse gases is our cows and sheep farting. So it's quite a huge amount. It represents probably almost half of our greenhouse gas emissions in New Zealand. Which says another thing, really. I mean, when you look at the global statistics, certainly, you know, livestock are a major contributor to the problem. I'm not advocating going vegan. I just had a beautiful steak for dinner tonight. But you know, but certainly the issue which has got us into the climate situation and so many of the problems that we're talking about is overconsumption. It's a combination of the population growth and that population increasing in prosperity. So you've got, you know, like a massive population in China, which 50 years ago were contributing next to nothing to greenhouse gases and pollution and what have you. I was there about 7 or 8 years ago in China, and well, it's one of the richest countries and most affluent countries in the world now, you know. Amazing place to visit. But with that has come the same or a much higher standard of living, a much more consumerism and much more production of pollutants and, you know, greenhouse gases, etc. So, yeah, I mean, New Zealand has still got a pretty good carbon footprint, but that's only because we're a small population, you know.
Yeah.
Only got about 6 million people live here. Yeah.
And Australia, you're right next door to Australia, basically, and they're doing the exact opposite, it seems. Is that right?
Yeah, well, the Australian government's got their head in the sand. Scott Morrison's their prime minister, and
yeah,
and they're
blaming firefighters,
they're
blaming
stealing
volunteers.
more Aborigines to produce coal mines because most of Australia's export is coal to China. So while they consume a lot of coal themselves, most of the coal goes to China. So that's what keeps the Australian economy ticking. Yeah. Yeah, everything goes a bit crazy when you look at how all the dots connect.
You know,
Yeah, I don't think people can put that together. A lot of people can.
Well,
Obviously we can.
here's the thing. Before I got interrupted a few minutes ago, what I was about to say is that people are waking up really, really fast because, you know,
I agree.
Per Mark's point, the collapse is happening. 4 years ago, collapse was a possibility in the future, and yeah, but we've got technology, but this, but that, but carbon tax, but whatever. Well, all those buts have run out. We've run out of butts. We got no more butts in our coin purse, right? Collapse is here. And humanity is waking up to that fact probably at a rate of about 1% per day on average over between the last 60 days and 60 days. Okay.
And we were just talking about Australia. I would say that a year ago, maybe 10% of Australians thought that, you know, climate change was a problem, or less.
Yeah. And
now I would say that probably 80 or 90% of Australians who have been through an apocalyptic event like the bushfires, and its effect, you know, it's a bit like you guys in California when you had the fires up there. You know, people experienced what it was to have no electricity, no cell phones, you know, transport was limited, things like that. Well, you put that on a scale where the whole country, and we were even affected here. You know, there were days when it was smoky outside there, you know, a few thousand miles away across the Tasman. And, you know, the effects were even felt here. But in Australia, I've got a daughter living in Melbourne, and she said it was actually quite frightening. People's whole attitude and anger and anxiety became, all of a sudden, the entire population became aware of the effects of warming.
Totally. No, look, the bottom line is collapse is here, and it is catastrophic. So it's kind of like, you know, being on top of a 60-story building that's crumbling down below. You don't know how much time you have left, but you know you better get the hell out of there in a hurry, one way or another. And so that's where we're at. So here's what's going to happen, and it really, our futures can go in one of two directions. Either we deploy the mirrors and cool the planet at planetary scale. We're talking about literally millions of square miles of mirror, okay, of mirror. Either we do that at full blast planetary scale in time, or collapse is just going to exponentiate. And it'll reach a point where so much of the economy has collapsed, so much of politics has collapsed, wars have flared up, mass migration, mass starvation, mass suicide, et cetera, et cetera. And if that happens, if it reaches that point, then there could be no stopping it, because even if at that point all of humanity says, yes, let's deploy the mirrors, we might just be too flattened too far gone at that point to even be able to muster that kind of industrial production and ocean engineering, logistics, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the bottom line is either we do this essentially now. When I say essentially now, I'm talking about in a matter of weeks to months that we really get the ball rolling on this. Either we get our act together and do this, or we're dead, all of us, and most complex life. It's really as simple as that. You know, that's why I don't spend my time doing anything else but this. This is the only game in town. And even for you, Mark, down in New Zealand, you know, look, it's not going to be a half-assed collapse. Either the whole house of cards comes collapsing down to the tabletop, or we remain standing. The only way to remain standing is if we deploy the mirrors. And the only way we're going to deploy the mirrors is if we form a planetary collective intelligence, what we're doing right here, right now, that is smart enough to actually orchestrate the insurance sector that you were talking about, Mark, that's now all freaked out, the financial sector, the banking sector, governments, religions. We've spent some time lobbying the Catholic Church, believe it or not, because Pope Francis wrote this powerful encyclical and he seems to be a bit of an environmentalist, right? So we need to orchestrate these big institutions to do the right thing in time with urgency. The only thing that's going to orchestrate it is collective intelligence. Collective intelligence. Go ahead.
And have you researched as to where might be the optimum locations on the planet for deployment of these? And
yeah, we've done some half-assed research. That's important, but frankly, it's secondary at this point, because what we need right now is cooling at a planetary scale. So if we're, we definitely need to do the modeling. See, that's yet another part of what needs to be orchestrated is the academic sector, academia. The big universities of the world are the ones that have the best ocean models, climate models, et cetera. And we need to start playing with scenarios. There's a whole bunch of stuff we need to do in parallel right away, right? One of them is the computer modeling. The other one is getting the big glass conglomerates around the world to start cranking out some prototypes of the kinds of floating mirrors that we're going to need. We need the ocean engineers to get on top of it and start figuring out how we're going to be able to deploy and maintain these vast arrays in choppy ocean waters, right? We're going to need to see how we're going to get this whole thing funded. And we're going to need to sell it to the public, because we need to sell it to the public in order for the public to put pressure on their respective governments. And we need all the governments in the world on board. We can't just have half of them, because if one or two superpowers are of the mindset that no, we can't do that because it's going to disrupt our shipping lanes, or it's going to disrupt our oil exploration or whatever. In other words, we cannot afford more delusion at this point by even one superpower. We need all the superpowers on board, which means we need all the populations of all the superpowers to wake up and join us, join the collective intelligence, so that we can together put pressure on the insurance sector, the banking sector, the government sector, the religious sector, the nonprofit sector, the academic sector, the private sector, all sectors.
So where can we see information on the research on this?
I would say
Is there a website or something?
look, watch the bit with Dr. Ye and Dr. McPherson. And what it's long. They were on there for like 2.5 hours. Actually, Dr. Ye I think was on longer, but but it was really good. Like I was really blown away by and it's not just the mirrors. There's a lot more to a lot of other things, because when I think about the mirrors, I'm like, yeah, that solves one problem. There are many problems, and his work actually leads into other things, solving other problems in the ocean, and kind of replenishing the oceans. It looks like a really good plan. I'm no scientist or anything like that, but it looked really good. And if obviously if somebody like Guy is like, I'm here to help, there's that. It's really good. You owe it to yourself to see that and make your own conclusions.
Yeah, I want to see it as soon as it's up online.
It's yeah. I think Guy's got it on his side already. If not, I know Damon will put it up. Like I said, it's a really good presentation. Whether you think there's time or not, that's time and money. And I think Damon makes a really good point in that it's such a good idea that I think they have a really good they can sell. This is something that's sellable. It's absolutely sellable. It looks really good. Personally, I think we're too late, but you got to try. You can't just give up. So it looks really good. Like I wish I saw something like that come up 10, 20, 30, 60 years ago, whatever. But even still, like, coronavirus, I started taking vitamins today. It takes what I think 20, it can be 24 days, and the vitamins, once you start taking the vitamins, it takes a couple months for the vitamins to really kick in, fight something like that.
Yeah.
So I just started taking vitamins today. It's too late, really, if I'm gonna get sick of it. But it doesn't hurt to try, so I bought vitamins today. So I cashed in my 401k, but I bought vitamins today, so you take it or leave it.
Cheers, I'm having a wine.
I've had a few. It's really, really good. Just really good to talk about stuff like this with people who get it and understand. And most people just don't.
I don't see a link yet on Guy McPherson's website.
I might have just watched the preview or something. That might have been what I saw.
Because Guy McPherson works a lot with Kevin Hester here in New Zealand.
Yeah.
I communicate a bit with Kevin Hester. He's got quite a few good resources on his page, and he's one of the moderators for a number of Facebook pages.
Yeah, I think he's the most important journalist of our time. Like Guy is to me like a Martin Luther King, and Kevin is like the writer, the journalist.
The next few months.
Guy has to be careful with what he says, because even though he doesn't get a paycheck, is watched by the government. He's got his own CIA operative that actually likes him. So that, lucky for him, and so he's got to be careful with what he says. I've seen him be attacked by Trump on Twitter. Trump threatened him on Twitter, and
really,
yeah, it's on one of, if you read a lot of Guy's stuff, he's got a link to a photo bit of the Twitter conversation, and it was pretty funny. It was about methane. He said, "Stop whistleblowing on methane," and what else did he say? Or you'll regret it. It was a threat. I can't remember the exact words Trump used, and Guy replied back. He said, "I've already lost everything. You have nothing. You can't take anything else away from me. I've already lost everything." I totally get that. And he said, "Your threats are like your fake coma, where they have no purpose in a civilized society." Is classic. What a great comeback. And when you get threatened by Trump, you're on to something. And he says they know what global dimming is, and they do. Obviously, They are,
Yeah.
they know more science than Guy does. Guy has the ability to research and find, you know, scientists are the most censored. They're more censored than any journalist, and they are the journalists.
Mm.
You know, because they know the history, they know what's going on.
Well, guys, I might leave the conversation, and I'll keep a lookout for this this conference that you had. No doubt it will get posted. I'm sure Kevin Hester here in New Zealand will pick up on it pretty quickly and get it up somewhere as well. In fact, I might have a wee chat to him on Facebook and ask him about it.
Yeah,
Just see if-
Kevin has participated with us on video conferences before. Might have been, I don't know, a year and a half ago or whenever it was, but I know Kevin. Tell him Jamin Shively says hello, and tell him that we're meeting every Friday for 24 hours straight until we solve this thing.
Yeah, let me write down your guys' names. So we're talking to
Jamin, first name Jamen,
yeah,
last name Shively, SHI, V as in Victor, ELY.
Yeah, cool.
And radish.org is the organization I lead.
Yeah, and that was 1dradish.org. Yeah.
That's it. Yep. And Kevin probably knows of us through the
Sure he does.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, because Guy introduced us. Anyway, he's been on the Social Club at the End of the World. That's a series we used to run every week.
Yeah.
The Social Club at the End of the World. Anyway, but please tell him that.
He's online now, so he hasn't gone to bed yet. So I'll give him a quick call.
And tell him to join us. We're gonna be going strong for another 6 hours. So tell him not to go to bed. Tell him the world's about to end and we're about to save it. And he can either which side of the tug of war does he want to be on? Tell him that's what I want to know.
Okay, so I think I've still got the link open here, haven't I? How do I pass on the link to this? Just copy and paste from somewhere.
Yeah, just copy and paste. Look, so on radish.org, you see the banner that says Collective Intelligence Block Party. If you click on that, the Zoom link to this video conference is right in there on the Block Party page.
Okay, I've got that open at the moment. So yeah, well, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Good,
this section called Instructions on that page, and that's got the Zoom link.
Yeah. Okay, we'll do that. Just trying to work out how to get back to where I was. I'm not used to using the Zoom.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All
Zoom,
right.
Yeah, you just look for the application. There's a Zoom application. It's a little.
Good. Hey, thanks, guys. We'll hopefully catch up with you again sometime in the not too distant future.
Well, look, let's make it a weekly thing, Mark. Either we're going to save life on Earth, including our own butts, or
this time. So it's Saturday here in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Saturday evening.
Well, but the thing is, we're on all day Saturday because we start at 6 a.m. here, which is more like 3 a.m. for you. So whenever you wake up on Saturday, I don't care how early, we'll be on. And so you'll always find the link on radish.org on the Block Party page. We'll just every week post the latest link and click on it and you'll be right here with us.
Fantastic.
Thanks for joining us, Mark.
Nice to meet you all.
Great
Catch you later.
Great to meet you.
You'll see me again.
Thanks
Okay,
for all you're
bye.
doing. And we'll see you next week.
Okay. Yeah, you will.
Yeah. Take care. And, this is exactly how we're building a planetary network. People are going to pop in eventually from every country on Earth. and then they'll start bringing their friends, and we're just going to grow this thing like Jack and the Beanstalk. And so
Yeah.
it's literally this cosmic game of chicken right now between abrupt climate change and abrupt collective intelligence, which is it's really that simple. And you either join the collective intelligence or you sit back and laugh at us till your death. I'm not talking to any of us here in this meeting. I'm just saying you, whatever human being.
And I'm just noticing Oswald has joined us, and I don't think we've heard from him, but although Shankar has been here for a long time, and I wonder if you have any words of wisdom. So
Sure, actually, yeah, I think it's a good time to talk now. And now I'm not walking. I'm placed. Yeah,
love to
I
hear
was,
from you.
yeah, I'm enjoying from a different perspective. I was trying to say something in the middle, I was thinking when you look at it, it's a multiple solutions. I was thinking of fabric, then I was thinking about it again. Maybe it's a quilt. Because the reason I'm saying was sometimes it's like an embroidery, all the threads overlap. We need multiple solutions, and I'm kind of taking more like a specialist and supporter approach. One is in one field, if you're a specialist, you lead that. Then in another field, if you're a generalist or a supporter person, support the other person. So everybody's going to take a lead on everything, and at the same time, you're also going to support the other person. This towards the climate change, I'm saying multiple solutions need to be worked out. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one thing came in my mind. Then I'm going back to the other topic. I was just reflecting the rest in my in the journey. One was I saw the YouTube version of the Alan Savory and Silesh Rao. The thoughts came to my mind was mainly like Alan Savory is coming, hey, this is a desert, how do you deal with this? And I like the explanation from Silesh, like it is a desert because we left it like that, because of we started depleting the forest. And again, Alan Savory is telling, no, I'm giving you a desert, how you going to convert that? So the first step again is don't lose the existing land. So that's the question came in my mind. Like again, it's like where I understand the way the earth or the desert area, like for example, if it's like an Arizona or New Mexico, it's a little tricky. Like it's really tricky to make it afforestation, but there are forests already dedicated. So those forests definitely needs to be bloomed, and they should not be taken for a commercial use. Because I'm feeling those are like a breathing active lungs. They are going to actually, we have to keep expanding those marginal areas to the maximum. So that is a thought came in my mind. And I think Alan Savory understands it maybe, but he wants to go more from he's like desert and desertification. I understand the complexity of desertification too, because just you have a good green fields and suddenly all the sand comes in, and I heard this in China, like where all this Gobi desert is keep extending, and they have a massive problem. And I can relate to in India, the Rajasthan, where the portion of it is the desert. But if it's keep extending, people will get worried. Like you lose the soil fertility, and the humidity is a factor. Maybe we should we might have to still figure it out. Something like how we can keep an underground tunnel or something. I know it's a big, vast land. We cannot do anything. I don't know how to deal with that too. Like for example, take like New Mexico, very very arid. So how am I going to retain the moisture? Maybe I can see the Native Americans, they lived in the caves and everything. So they were able to tap some of the humidity naturally gets locked inside a cave or anything. So that could be one of the approach I can see, and you can do a vegetation and around. Or so those are the things came in my mind, and I would I would love to see a sequel of this. Yeah, I'm still in that thoughts in that discussion meeting or the both had that was actually keep resonating in my mind. In the meantime, I listen to all of you guys, from spirituality to the New Zealand part Mark was saying, and everything. I was listening. Yeah, but I was walking in the cold, so I couldn't multitask. And I saw the race message. Yeah. Okay, now I'm heading to Hartford from New York. Thank you.
I can tell you're a wonderful spirit, man. My heart's with you.
Yeah, Shankar is working really hard on the Vegan 2026, and he's always has really great suggestions and contributions. I really appreciate you, Shankar. We've been in a lot of meetings together. We've never talked one-on-one, and yet I always feel so comforted and by your peaceful, loving spirit.
Thank you, Patricia. I enjoy your songs, and the best part is the laughter yoga.
Thank you. Maybe it's time for a little laughter yoga. Haven't done any for a while. Ho, ho, ho. Ha, ha, ha. Hee, hee, hee. Whee! And of course, that's just a simple laughter yoga. There's other things like you can pour things like or you can wave or things like that. The people who watch this video, they're gonna think, wow, this is not like anything I've ever seen. Some people breaking out in song. This is and laughter. It's I just feel so honored that I can express myself and contribute in this way as a yeah, it's really important to me to be able to help just kind of, shift the energy a little bit, because it's a lot. Wow, we've been sitting and listening a lot, and yeah, so I don't see how we're all doing it. We haven't heard from you for a while, Evan.
It's Nolan. But that's okay. I really appreciate you bringing your energy into this conversation today and lightening things up. That's been so nice. So very nice. And Joey, it's been really nice having you.
Thank you, man. It's been, you guys are, this is your thing. I think you guys have a great idea. It's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. Like I was saying earlier, the part of the early before there were podcasts, and that show still goes on today, but I just don't do the narcissism thing, so I don't do that anymore. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, no worries. No worries at all.
We haven't heard from Myra or Rebecca for a little while. How are you guys doing? If you want to share, we're glad to have you here. I'm getting sleepy. It's 2 a.m. here, but I'll see if I can. I really want to be here. I guess maybe I'll share, unless anybody has anything burning to share. I'd like to share, my story with direct action everywhere, and how once upon a time I got banned from direct action everywhere. So it all started when I became a vegan, and it'd be fun to hear stories about how people became vegan. And I appreciate so much that we don't only have vegans on this, we don't have to be vegans to be here, and yet us vegans can feel supported. And I really appreciate that. So I became a vegetarian when I was 17 because I was watching Lassie. Who has seen Lassie? Raise your hand. No, Nolan, you seen Lassie?
I think a long time ago, yeah.
Yeah, so Lassie is a collie and who hung out with Timmy. And I was watching Lassie and going, Lassie is so intelligent, so kind. Cows are kind of like that too. They don't seem to hurt anybody. I don't know, they have kind of nice eyes. And people, yikes, people aren't very nice. We eat cows. We don't eat dogs, and we don't eat people. And because I was such a logical person, I just thought, well, I guess I shouldn't eat cows. If I'm not going to eat dogs or people, I shouldn't eat cows. Unfortunately, I didn't know how bad the dairy and egg industry was, so I was an ovo-lacto vegetarian. However, 5 years ago, I woke up, and it took me about a year. So 6 years ago, I heard how bad dairy and egg was, so I became a vegan. And it took me a year, I confess, because I don't know, it was just such a habit to eat eggs and dairy. But I finally watched a 3-minute video. Somebody paid me $1 to watch, and it was about how bad all aspects of animal agriculture are. And so I decided to become a vegan on the spot. It was an easy decision for me. And I really empathize with people who aren't able to make that leap. I mean, that's how I was, even though I've been a vegetarian for 44 years. About 44 years, I still had trouble becoming a vegan. You would think that so I understand. So when I became a vegan, then it took me about 2.5 years to realize I really wanted to do more to become involved in animal rights. So I just happened to be in Berkeley when that light bulb went on, and they were just starting their animal rights center, and I met Direct Action Everywhere people at it was a Kingian nonviolence workshop. And I fell in love with that concept of open rescue, where they go and save the animals. And, they go and people in Direct Action Everywhere would go into the factory farms, or even especially the humanely, the ones that said that they were growing the food the animals humanely. And they would show how badly they were treated, and they would also rescue a couple of individuals. I was just enthralled by that. And I really loved the youthful energy and excitement. So I just dove in and started going to their animal rights conference, animal liberation conferences. So to make a long story longer, I'm gonna see if I will just say, I felt I was so yearning for community, and the Direct Action Everywhere gave me that sense of community. But when I started sensing, and I went a couple of times, I went there to live in Berkeley and just to dedicate my life to Direct Action Everywhere. But I had to come home the first time because of the death of my grandson to support my daughter. A year later, I went back again. I was going to stay a long time. But I was seeing and hearing from people how people were being treated unfairly. And then I was starting to feel treated unfairly. And I asked for mediation. I really tried to get mediation. And because I had asked for mediation before, people thought they didn't feel safe because I wanted mediation. I'm falling asleep. But what happened was I yelled at Wayne Shung, the head of Direct Action Everywhere. I yelled at him at a meeting because he said, "You stir up conflict. And this is all, I have this all on a blog. I've been very open about it. It's called dxcoccult.wordpress.com. So I yelled at him because he was like quietly telling me, "You just stir up conflict, you just quit stirring up conflict," because I had been trying to get answers for some people in Boston who were having trouble. And then I yelled, "Wayne, why won't you mediate with me?" Because I had said it softly, and he said, "No, I'm not going to mediate with you." And then the whole room went quiet. There was about 100 people there at the Animal Rights Center. And so I was escorted out, told that I was banned, and there was no way, there was no discussion, like a democratic process, like how I could come back or why exactly I was banned. Well, the reason was because I asked for mediation one too many times. So I ended up writing the story in I went public saying, "Okay, I'm banned, everybody. Here I am, the biggest supporter of DXE. I've got to tell you, it's not a safe place for everybody." And so for the next month or two even, I wrote in my blog, I gave YouTube, I did YouTube videos, I wrote on Facebook about what was happening, how I was being treated. And man, it was like one of the worst experiences of my entire life because people attacked me a lot. And I tried to respond in a calm manner, loving manner. So I'm saying all this to share that this experience with you all is so healing, because it took me about 2 months to recover from that experience. When I came back to the country, I hardly would associate with any people except for my family. I was really in shell shock. And then I wondered if I just thought, I'll just start my little community here and just see who'll come. And then when I discovered Vegan World 2026 about 2 months ago. And then you guys, this place, I'm falling asleep all my, yeah, I can do this. Yeah, when I discovered, Radish, then it just like renewed my hope and just gave me a renewed, that fervor that I had for direct action everywhere. Yeah, I'm glad I had that experience, and yet what it just makes me more grateful than ever and also more alert. Like, if it's not safe, I kind of keep I have an antenna out to see, well, okay, is this an organization I can invite people into? And for the most part, I can say it. Yes, it's safe. There's been some little blips. At the same time, I believe that those things are going to be worked out. So thank you for listening, you guys. I'd love to hear how you feel hearing my story. It's kind of vulnerable.
Well, Patricia, I really appreciate you sharing with us. Someone, Oswald Spengler has a question for you. He's actually been waiting a while for this. And I haven't been on top of the chat, so I apologize, Oswald, for that. He wants to ask you if you're familiar with Lindisfarne Association. Maybe that's not how you pronounce it. Tied to Findhorn.
No, I've never heard of them. Is that in the chat here?
No, he had sent it on the YouTube chat.
Oh, okay. No, I'm not familiar with that.
He says it was basically an American Findhorn.
Yeah, I've never heard of that. That's how do you spell that?
Here, I will type it in the chat.
I think, the reason why I was feeling so protective of Alan and of in that interview was because I know how it feels to be attacked by vegans. They can be, animal rights activists, sadly, can be very vicious. I was really appalled at the kinds of things people would say to me. And I admire you, Jamin, because, you received death threats. I did not receive any death threats, although I did feel very uncomfortable about how people were attacking my character. So I want to thank you for being willing to do things, to stand up to cartels. That's a million times bigger. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I didn't have too much choice in my case because I started a cannabis company in my great-grandfather's name. My great-grandfather, Diego Pellicer, was the largest grower of hemp in the world in the Victorian era. And he was also a very handsome man with a big mustache. And so I built a brand of cannabis before cannabis was even legal. I preempted it. It was right in that sweet spot. You know where we're right now? We're at the sweet spot right before collapse happens, but it's just starting. It was that same moment with the legalization of cannabis. It hadn't gone legal yet. And I put out a press release that we're launching this brand, and I did up the graphics and everything, and launched the company, launched the brand, got massive media coverage. I got the attention of some American politicians, the former president of Mexico, President Vicente Fox. He joined me. We did a huge press conference. We were all over the media. And at around this time, a criminal drug cartel actually infiltrated my company. And it was frankly masterful on their part how they played it. But they basically got their people in, started making serious death threats against me, got physically violent with me, and so I just had to get the hell out of that situation. So it's a long story, but the long and the short of it is, folded up the company, and then what did the cartel do? They took my great-grandfather's name and logo and image. And you know how like in Mexico, they'll like chop off body parts and then parade them around? They are trafficking drugs with my great-grandfather's name as a brand. So it's the moral equivalent of taking my great-grandfather's head, literally. I mean, not literally, but it's the equivalent of taking his head and parading it around. That's their way of signaling if anyone seriously challenges prohibition and the lock that the drug cartels have on the industry, they will kill. They won't just go after you, they'll go after your family. That was the message. So I had to go after them. But I went after them in a way that didn't call them out publicly, explicitly who they are. I simply went after all criminal drug cartels. I said, screw all of you. I don't care who's in, who's not in. Screw you all.
Wow. Thanks for sharing. And I'm sad to hear that you suffered so much. And I'm glad it didn't quench your spirit.
No, it put me to the test, and I still have work to do. I still need to bury that damn cartel, because they're still trafficking in my great-grandfather's name.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we have such
We
a
need jokes.
courageous person. What? Go ahead.
I would say we need jokes.
Yeah, we do. I could use a couple bong hits at this point, actually.
Okay, can I try one?
Oh.
Yeah.
You want to say something? Go ahead.
Okay. What do you call a drug dealer with a tie? What do you call a drug dealer with a tie? Pharmacist.
Oh, hell yeah. Doctor. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Jamin, for that courageous story. I mean, courageous experience or how you handled. It's very, very brave of you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's gnarly, man. Gnarly. I'm so sorry, dude. That's heavy. Terrible.
No. But you know what? Here's the thing. When I started my campaign against criminal drug cartels, I knew I was risking my life, and that's when I met Nolan. And but it's made me absolutely fearless in terms of taking on what we need to take on, you know, to transform humanity and transform the world. And
Yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, it sort of gave me an early taste of the death threats that's hanging over all of our heads right now. Right?
Yeah, and I guess it would be good to share the gift of what I received, was that it also helped me realize how I just cannot worry about what people think about me. I cannot act in a way that is trying to please people. And so I want to thank Direct Action Everywhere. First of all, I know that they are still they're doing great things. I have a feeling that my public statement of how they were treating people unfairly, I had proof. I had, I was very clear in my blog, but I really think that it woke them up to realize, you know what, we do need to tighten things up. And I hope that was a gift to them. And Wayne did step down as the leader, but the gift, I love Wayne. In fact, all those leaders, I pray for them often. That's what I love about the influence of Jesus in my life. And I know that others, it doesn't take Jesus to encourage people to try to do their best to love everyone. And so I really love to, when I see them, I visualize these people that hurt me and turned on me. So, that people I thought were my family. And I just want the best for them. And I surround them with light. And yeah, that experience of people just coming after me with such insults, it strengthened me. And then that retreat, just going within for a couple of months, I fasted on maple syrup lemonade for 29 days. It was like I'd never been able to do that. When I got back, I was out in the country. It was just feel like, how does that relate to the collective intelligence and our goals? It's like if we can take every negative experience, what painful experience that we've had, and make it, as Dharmendra would say, into a gift. Find the gift in it. Look at this place that we're at as it's a schoolroom in order to help us to refine our character and become more the people that are loving and powerful and yet and changing the world. So thank you for listening. I do have a joke. What did one frog say to the other? Time's fun when you're having flies.
I think I'm going to move this lamp out to the back deck, and then we can just take the laptop out there. But you chill. It'll take me a minute, so you just take your time.
Who want to hear a spiritual joke? Is it okay to say a spiritual joke?
Yeah.
Okay. there is a new disciple learning the yoga, meditation, or all spiritual practices from the guru. So, but he had a lot of questions, or the disciple had a lot of questions. And one of the question he asked the guru was, "Guru, can I use email?" You know what was the response from Guru? Anybody wants to guess? You can use email as long as there is no attachment.
Come on, Joey, let's see some laughter.
Sorry, I thought I lost you guys. I hit the wrong button. I was trying to get back.
I think I'm gonna have to take a little, I need to walk around or else I'm gonna fall asleep. I think. I don't know if I'm gonna make it.
It's only 5.5 more hours.
How are you doing? How are you hanging in there?
I'm doing well, actually, surprisingly well.
Wow.
I'll
Wow.
super good tonight, so I'm looking forward to that. And I'm kind of anticipating having some crazy dreams after all this. So, it'll be fun.
I think we should have some dancing. Oh, I know what we could do. You put your right foot in, you put your right foot out, you put your right foot in, and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Yahoo! You put your left you put your left foot out, you put your left foot in, and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Yahoo! You do the hokey pokey. You do the hokey pokey. You do the hokey pokey. That's what it's all about. Yahoo!
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. We're building a new world with a hokey pokey. It was a spiritual experience. But I do want to see us do a dance party. I wonder if the Zoom person thought I was weird because I told them I wanted to have dance parties on Zoom and laughter yoga and singing.
You can play on battery for a bit.
Okay.
You know, I would like to talk a little bit about the Vegan 2026 in case people on YouTube are wondering when we talk about that. I'm just really impressed by that project because are you on there, Joey, on Basecamp? On the Vegan 2026?
No, sorry. I'm not a vegan, but I do love animals, and obviously they're slaughtered over everything. We've overshot, and the over farming and the way that our food, our entire food system is so cruel. it's heartbreaking, terrible. You know, I've killed one animal as far as like for food. I caught a couple of fish out of a lake at my parents' house, and you know, because I wanted to experience that. You know, if everybody had to prepare and kill their own meat, people would eat a lot less meat because it's just easy to go to the store and get it and stuff like that. It's just so convenient, and it when you work all the time, Wendy's. I love salads. Wendy's salads aren't that good. Any salad isn't that good, and it's like $7 or $8. You can get a little tiny double cheeseburger for like $1 or $2 for a meal. A couple bucks. It's just the convenience of it, and it's terrible and it's wrong. And I know that. I completely, and that's why I eat less meat. But I don't have time to not eat meat either. That makes sense too, and I do love it. And I keep snakes, so I've got to feed them birds and rats, and and I have vegan animals. I have iguanas and tortoises that I don't feed. They eat nothing but, and that's good for us too, because if there happens to be some leftovers, we'll eat that. Usually devour it all. We make a lot of salads for ourselves. It is healthy, better food. The meat industry in this world, this country, this entire planet is so corrupt and so shot full of chemicals. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's not good for us.
Well, it sounds like what I'm hearing you say is that it's really hard for you to be a vegan because it's time consuming. You feel torn. I hear that you feel torn, and I'm hearing that if it was easier
for
you to be vegan, like if somebody was preparing you vegan food, shopping for you, supporting you, that would be your preference. And yet your life as it is, like we were talking about earlier, is that when there's so many things going on, to make that shift, it's really overwhelming. Is that right?
There's a lot of that, and also what's helped to get me even more off of meat and a better diet, healthier diet, is I have kidney disease. It's in my family, so meats aren't good for me. I can have chicken. Chicken is not bad if it doesn't have a ton of salt. Salt is in everything. And if you are eating meat, it's going to be salted. So it's not even necessarily the meat that is so bad for my kidneys, it's the salt. When you're eating plants, restaurants don't typically salt plants. So that in itself it's a really easy transition for me to not eat meat just for that. And like I said, I love salads, grilling vegetables. It's, absolutely we eat way too much meat. Even some people I think do have to have meat. I don't think they do well. My wife was meatless. She went meatless, not vegan, but meatless for 5 years, and she developed her knees hurt and stuff like that. And just a little bit of meat every now and then kind of made that better. And that's how she kind of figured out that needs a little bit of meat. But everybody's chemistry is different. And I'm no scientist, but that's just my story, if that makes sense. And that's why I love. I completely empathize with vegans because, we need to eat less meat. That's absolutely. And we need to kill less and less animals too. I love animals, but also, we all have to eat. I have to feed my snakes. I can't feed my snakes. but my lizards and my iguanas and tortoises, absolutely. And even a tortoise will eat meat if it's called carrion. If they're, foraging like they do, they just wander like horses. If they come across an animal, they'll pull some meat off of it. But typically, no, they're grazers. And the iguanas that we have, we don't feed them meat at all. And we don't ever feed our tortoise meat, but he eats, if he were in the wild, we take him to a Renaissance festival and he has a costume and everything. He raised money for a nonprofit, the Georgia Reptile Society. And there are people that drop food on the ground, a chicken bone or whatever. And we'll be walking along and, hey, he'll take a nibble, and I'll let him because I know in the wild he would take a nibble. But in the wild, that meat wouldn't be cooked either. So there's that. So he might get a taste of something, but wild, it's been cooked. So you get a lot of it.
Well, I just appreciate that you could hear a lot on this about people's stories about being vegan, and
Yep.
you didn't get defensive. You haven't gotten defensive, and that's huge. That means you're
Yeah,
a
there were a
vegan
lot of people
ally.
that did, and I'm just like, oh, come on, guys.
I think that the people on Vegan 2026 they're not all vegan, because
Sure.
yeah, so it is a place where even though we envision a vegan world, really there's so many projects we're working on that you would be in alignment with, and
yeah.
which is of course interface like nature, restoring nature, and yeah, tons of, because we, like somebody was saying earlier, we can't just have one solution. I mean, everybody in the world going vegan is not going to stop. Now I actually learned this from you guys, Jamin, only about a week ago. I never even heard of SRM. And I didn't realize that there were solutions I didn't know that maybe the Ice Age, like we're averting an ice age because we've heated up the planet. Now we need to cool it down. Man, I have learned so much in the past 2 months and even the past week. And so I want to encourage you that on this Basecamp project management system, there's just all these groups, a place to just plug in. You can do a little, you can do a lot. And, you don't have to be a vegan. And I know we're going to do things like, we're cooperating. Well, maybe you could tell, you guys maybe could explain, Jamin and Nolan.
No.
I think by default we're going to eat less meat in the future. So
yeah.
I love that idea, and in that sense.
Yeah,
There'll be less murder.
yeah, and it'll be easier. You'll have a lot more options. But I would love to hear from Jamin and Nolan. It's really Nolan, right?
Really
Come
is.
on. Don't pull my leg. Don't do it. What do you see as the connection between Radish and Vegan World 2026?
Great question. So I'll give you kind of an encapsulated view first, and then we can go into more detail if you'd like. Can you guys hear?
Yeah, but what do you think about starting the recording now? Because this might be kind of an interesting
Oh, no, we have recorded. We never stopped.
I just thought you could stop. Or are you going to just slice it up? I was just, you know how sometimes you stop it and then you start it?
Yeah, she's recommending we start a new segment.
Oh, okay. Sure. Let's start a new. Okay.
Yeah.